In today's world, staying current in your profession, it's not just nice to have, is it? It feels essential.
Absolutely.
How do you make sure you're really keeping up, maybe even excelling? It's a challenge everywhere, for almost everyone.
It really is.
Today, we're going to take a deep dive into how one country, the Philippines, tackled this head-on. We're looking at Republic Act number 10912.
That's the Continuing Professional Development Act of 2016.
Exactly.
And it's more than just another rule. It's a pretty significant national policy.
Right.
The core idea is to make sure professionals there keep improving, stay competent, and, importantly, are competitive on a global scale. It's about raising the standard.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack this law. We want to understand its purpose, how it defines things like CPD, what it mandates, and what it actually means for you if you're practicing a regulated profession there.
And we're basing this all on the official text of the act itself.
Perfect. So let's start at the beginning. Why this law? Why did the Philippines feel a specific act on continuing professional development was necessary? What's the big picture?
Well, the act, right in Section 2, it lays out the state's policy pretty clearly. It says the goal is to promote and upgrade the practice of professions in the country.
Promote and upgrade.
Yeah. And it links this directly to continuously improving the competence of the professionals. And here's a key part. Doing it in line with international standards practice.
So that global competitiveness angle again.
Exactly. But it goes even further. The ultimate aim mentioned is ensuring these professionals contribute to uplifting the general welfare, economic growth, and development of the nation.
Wow. So it's not just about individual careers, is it?
Not at all. It explicitly ties professional competence to national well-being and progress. It's quite a strategic vision.
So individual skills, national progress, global standards. It's all interconnected in this policy.
Precisely.
Okay, that sets the stage. Now, the Act uses some very specific terms. To really get a handle on it, we need to understand its language. What exactly does continuing professional development, CPD, mean here? And who counts as a professional?
Yeah, getting these definitions right is crucial. So continuing professional development, or CPD, isn't just any learning. The Act defines it as the inculcation of advanced knowledge, skills, and ethical values.
Advanced knowledge.
Yes, and it happens after you get your license. It's often in a specialized area or maybe an interdisciplinary field. The focus is on deepening your practice, maybe doing research, or just, lifelong learning.
Okay, so post-licensure advanced learning. What about a CPD program?
Good question. A CPD program is defined as a set of learning activities accredited by the CPD Council. Think seminars, workshops, technical talks, online modules, even professional tours or visits.
Things that are formally recognized then.
Right. They're designed specifically to give professionals those advanced skills and values, and the learning is measured using a CPD credit unit.
A credit unit, like in university.
Sort of. It's the value given to a specific amount of learning. You accumulate these units to reach certain levels, maybe leading to a qualification. It standardizes the measurement.
Got it. And a professional.
Very specific definition there, too. It's someone registered and licensed to practice a regulated profession in the Philippines, and they need to hold a valid certificate of registration and a professional identification card, or PIC, from the PRC.
The PRC being the Professional Regulation Commission.
Correct. And overseeing this for each profession is the CPD Council, which is a body created specifically to promote and ensure this continuous improvement.
Okay, so it's clear this isn't just suggesting professionals keep learning. It's structured, it's measured, focused on advanced skills after licensing, and there's oversight.
Exactly. Puts real parameters around it.
That leads to the next question. If you're a professional needing these CPD units, what actually counts? Is it just formal courses, or is it broader than that?
This is where the Act gets really interesting, I think. It recognizes a surprisingly wide range of learning activities, much broader than just traditional schooling.
Oh, like what?
Well, of course, there's formal learning. That's your typical structured education in recognized institutions leading to diplomas, degrees, that sort of thing.
Right, the expected stuff.
But then there's non-formal learning. This is structured learning too, but it happens alongside or maybe instead of formal education. Think workshops or training outside a university system.
Okay.
And then really interestingly, it includes informal learning. This is learning that just happens in daily life through experience. The key here is that it can be assessed and potentially recognized through validation and accreditation processes.
Wow. Daily life learning counting. That is flexible.
It is, and perhaps one of the most significant categories is self-directed learning.
Self-directed. Meaning what exactly?
This covers things like online training you find yourself, seminars you attend locally or internationally, maybe even programs your company sponsors. These might not have gone through the formal CPD accreditation process beforehand,
Okay.
but crucially, you can apply afterwards to the CPD Council and potentially get awarded CPD units for them. That offers huge flexibility.
That seems really practical.
Definitely. The Act also explicitly mentions online learning activities using the internet and IT, whether they're structured or unstructured. And get this, even professional work experience itself is acknowledged as a learning activity.
Just doing your job counts as learning.
In a way, yes, it acknowledges the skills gained through practice. And there's also a concept called prior learning. This looks at skills and knowledge you gained before, maybe from work, other training, independent study, volunteering, even hobbies.
Hobbies, seriously.
Potentially, yes, if relevant and demonstrable. The idea is this prior learning could possibly be applied for academic credit or towards a certification.
That's incredibly comprehensive. It really sounds like they're embracing lifelong learning in almost every possible form.
I think that's a fair assessment. It moves well beyond just classroom learning.
Okay, so given this massive scope, all these learning types, the link to national goals, who actually runs this whole system, who makes sure these CPD programs are good, fair, and managed properly across all the different professions.
Right. The implementation structure is quite detailed. It's multi-layered. At the top, you have the Professional Regulation Commission, the PRC, working alongside the Professional Regulatory Boards, or PRBs.
The PRBs being the boards for specific professions like engineering or nursing.
Exactly. The PRC and these PRBs have the overall responsibility for implementing the CPD programs.
What does that involve?
Well, their duties include organizing the CPD councils for each profession, reviewing and approving the actual CPD programs, setting the guidelines, coordinating with universities, government agencies, other stakeholders.
A lot of coordination.
Yes, and importantly, setting up ways to transfer credit units, linking it to the Philippine qualifications framework so learning is recognized nationally.
Okay, so PRC and PRBs are the big picture oversight. What about those CPD councils you mentioned?
Right, those are crucial. Each regulated profession gets its own CPD council. It typically has a chairperson who's a member of that profession's PRB.
So someone from the regulatory board.
Correct. And then two members. One is usually the president or a key officer from the main professional organization for that field.
The AIPO or APO?
Yes, the Accredited Integrated Professional Organization or Accredited Professional Organization. And the second member comes from the academic side, usually the president or an officer from the national group of deans or department heads in that field.
So it's a mix of regulators, practitioners, and academics.
Precisely. It ensures different perspectives are involved, and their job is vital.
What do they specifically do?
The CPD Council for Profession has to make sure there are enough good CPD programs available for their people. They evaluate and approve applications from organizations wanting to be CPD providers and applications for specific programs to be accredited.
So they're the gatekeepers for quality.
In essence, yes. They also monitor how things are being implemented. They regularly assess and update the criteria for accreditation. And, this is key, they develop the systems for validating all those diverse learning types we talked about.
Like the self-directed learning and prior experience.
Exactly. They figure out how to assess and assign credit units for those. Plus, they do research, benchmark against international standards, and issue the specific guidelines on credit units for their profession.
And who supports them administratively?
There's a CPD Council Secretariat set up within the PRC offices, headed by an executive director to handle the technical, administrative, and operational legwork.
It's quite an intricate structure, isn't it? From the PRC setting the overall direction down to each profession's council tailoring and managing it.
It really is. It allows for both broad consistency and profession-specific needs.
Okay, now for the part that probably matters most to professionals listening. What is the absolute key requirement, the thing everyone needs to know about this act?
This is really the heart of it for practicing professionals. Section 10 is unambiguous. The title says it all. CPD as mandatory requirement in the renewal of professional license and accreditation system for the practice of professions.
Mandatory requirement.
Yes. It states very clearly, the CPD is hereby made as a mandatory requirement in the renewal of the PIC's professional identification cards of all registered and licensed professionals under the regulation of the PRC.
So no CPD units, no license renewal.
That's the bottom line. It fundamentally shifted CPD from being good practice to being absolutely necessary to continue practicing legally.
It's a huge change. Does the Act say anything else about how CPD fits into a career?
It does. Section 12 talks about career progression and specialization. It requires the PRC and the PRBs, after consulting with stakeholders, to create and implement a career progression and specialization program for every profession.
And that links to CPD.
Yes, the Act says this program will form part of the CPD. So your development isn't just about renewing a license, it's also tied into how you advance and specialize in your career.
And what about employers? Are they involved?
Yes, Section 13 addresses the role of concerned government agencies and the private sector. It mandates that all government agencies and private companies employing professionals shall include the CPD as part of their human resource development plan and program.
So employers have to support it too.
They have a legal obligation to integrate it into their HRD plans.
Putting it all together then.
Yeah.
It's mandatory for license renewal, it's tied to career progression, and employers have to build it into their systems. It really makes continuous learning fundamental, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It embeds it right into the professional life cycle and the national structure. It's not just recommended, it's integral.
Now, an undertaking this big, making CPD mandatory across the board, it must need significant funding. And with requirements come potential loopholes or fraud. How does the Act handle funding and ensuring integrity?
Good questions. Section 14 covers funding. It states that the money for implementation comes from the PRC's regular budget, which is part of the annual General Appropriations Act, the national budget.
So it's publicly funded through the PRC?
Yes, specifically for the operations of the CPD councils, things like monitoring, travel, allowances for council members when they're working on CPD matters. The PRC reviews and approves each council's budget proposal.
Okay, so there's a mechanism for funding. What about preventing fraud, like people faking certificates or something?
Section 16 deals with fraud relating to CPD. It's taken very seriously. First, any fraud falls under existing law.
The consequences.
Right. But in addition to that, if a professional is found guilty of CPD-related fraud, they face suspension or revocation of HISHR, PRC Certificate of Registration, and Indoor Certificate of Specialization.
Losing their license or specialization. That's severe.
It is. And if a government official or employee is involved, they also face administrative penalties under anti-graft laws and the Code of Conduct for Public Officials.
So the Act doesn't just set up the requirement. It puts serious teeth into enforcement and protecting the system's integrity.
Definitely. It underscores how important the legitimacy of the CPD credits is.
It really shows the commitment behind the program. Okay, so we have the structure, the requirements, the funding, the safeguards. When did all of this actually kick in? When did it become law?
Well, Section 15 required the PRC and the PRBs to issue the detailed implementing rules and regulations, the IRR, within 6 months of the Act taking effect. Those rules provide the nitty-gritty details.
The operational handbook, essentially.
Pretty much. And it also notes that individual PRBs can add their own requirements as long as they don't contradict the main Act or IRR. As for the Act itself, Section 19 says it took effect 15 days after it was fully published, either in the Official Gazette or in 2 major newspapers.
Standard procedure for laws taking effect.
Yes, but there's a rather unique detail about its enactment mentioned in the source text.
Oh, what's that?
It actually lapsed into law on JUL 21-2016 without the signature of the President, in accordance with Article 6, Section 27(1) of the Constitution.
Lapsed into law, meaning the President didn't sign it, but it became law anyway.
Exactly. Under the Philippine Constitution, if the President doesn't act on a bill passed by Congress within a specific period, it automatically becomes law.
Huh. That's a fascinating bit of legislative process right there.
It is indeed.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today. We've done a real deep dive into the Continuing Professional Development Act of 2016. We looked at why it was created.
Its core purpose, linking competence to national development and global standards.
Right. We unpacked the key definitions, what CTD is, who's a professional, the councils.
And the different types of learning it recognizes, from formal classes to self-study and even work experience.
Then the whole structure, the PRC, the PRBs, the CPD councils, the secretariat, who's responsible for what.
And of course, the mandatory nature of it for license renewal, how it links to career progression, and the role of employers.
Plus the funding mechanisms and the serious safeguards against fraud. And finally, how it came into effect, including that interesting detail about lapsing into law.
It really is a comprehensive piece of legislation. It fundamentally changes the landscape for professionals in the Philippines, ensuring competence isn't static but continuously evolving.
And for you, our listener, I think this deep dive really highlights one specific way a nation is addressing that universal challenge we started with: how to keep a professional workforce skilled, adaptable, and truly contributing.
Absolutely. And maybe as a final thought to leave you with, consider this. This act puts a huge emphasis on recognizing diverse learning pathways: formal, non-formal, informal, self-directed, prior
A
learning.
very broad view.
Exactly. So the provocative question might be, how could this kind of comprehensive, mandatory approach, one that validates so many different forms of learning, potentially influence the future of professional credentialing and lifelong learning models elsewhere in the world? Could it push other systems to look beyond just traditional qualifications?
That's definitely something to think about. How do we value all the ways people learn throughout their careers? A fascinating question to ponder.